And The Voice really is, I think we have seen, a divisive project, and the country is waking up to the cultural revolutionaries' attempts to take the whole country down their agenda. But The Voice is going down, as are the polls for Anthony Albanese. And joining us to discuss all this is great friend of this program, Liberal Senator Alex Antic from South Australia. Alex, thanks so much for joining us here on the program. I want to start with a little local story from you that an inner-city Adelaide council has now decided they're going to stop running Australia Day. Now, Australia Day, when I first reported about it being something The Voice might take up, they all said, oh, no, it's a conspiracy theory. Nobody cares about that sort of thing. Alex, tell us about it.
Well, James, thanks for having me on. And your tinfoil hat clearly is itching your skull to a point where you are now having these delusions of conspiracies that are coming. And of course, what you've actually done is just called it for what it is and called out this attack on Australia Day. It's exactly what it is. It all starts seemingly at local government level. This is a neighbouring council to the one that I used to sit on for my sins and for my future therapy bills, the Adelaide City Council. It's right next door to that, and it is a very, very inner-city style council, very well-to-do area, and these are the ways these things start. They start at local government level, mainly because, I think, this is my personal view, the left have a very easy run up to local council. I was talking to a bloke yesterday, actually, who was talking about the fact that he was on council 10 years ago, but he had to keep running his business and he wanted to have an contribution, but he just didn't have the time because he was doing actual stuff. This one, credit here has to go to Councillor Jack Gaffey, who from the city of Unley, who called this out, who voted against it and who did the right thing and who is a great example of getting sensible people. He's a dentist, he's a local guy, I know him quite well. And he's called this out, he's raised the alarm. And this is the message here. Conservatives, everyday Australians, the quiet Australians have got to get back into the political fight. I've been saying it for 2.5 years, if not longer, because these things take root at local government level. And before you know it, you've got local councillors telling us whether or not we can have an Australia Day celebration on January 26th. Well, we'll get stuffed. We're having it. So that's the way it is.
Well, they have axed the community events without consultation. The ratepayers were not consulted. And earlier this year, they moved their citizenship ceremonies at Adelaide City Council. And as a migrant, it is an absolute honour to be naturalised on Australia Day, to become an Australian on the day, on your nation's national day. And they have removed that honour from their migrant population. But Alex, what can the ratepayers do? They're not being consulted here. And let's be honest here, most people have no idea who they're voting for in local government elections. I mean, they're only showing up to vote typically because they're going to get fined if they don't.
Well, actually, I mean, in South Australia, it's a non-compulsory vote. So once again, it tends to sort of conflate the left's vote in a sense, because you get a sort of a 25% turnout at local government here, and so as a result, local government certainly in the inner city metropolitan areas is largely dominated by ALP staffers and young green lefties that think they're going to be the next sort of Green senator for South Australia, and they attract a vote. You don't have to bring out many people to get a win in local government. I'm proof of that, of course, because I did it as well. But you got to be. Hey, I love the outsiders. We can't pull anyone's leg in here. But this is a problem, and I keep saying to people, this is not just about voting on voting day. This is about getting involved in the political process. Make sure that you're thinking about running for local council. If you're sick of councils cancelling Australia Day, make sure that you're voting in your professional bodies' polls. I mean, the Law Society of South Australia here has 3,000 members. It took a poll on whether or not the Law Society should say yes or no to The Voice. 1,000 people responded, and a bare majority voted yes. So the Law Society now adopts a position for yes in South Australia. That's 501 out of 3,000. That's because Conservatives don't show up and play. It's time to get on with it. It's time to get back in the ring.
James McPherson.
Alex, just one more question on the Australia Day issue. I mean, it's all very well to blame local councils, but doesn't the federal government have some responsibility for this? The Morrison government legislated to ensure local councils could only run citizenship ceremonies on the Australia Day weekend. One of the first things the Albanese government did was to reverse that decision, which is that not tacit sort of encouragement for councils to do the kinds of things that you're talking about?
Yeah, look, absolutely. Leading from the front is it. And you know, Prime Minister Morrison did do a good job on that, I have to say. We really did in terms of fighting back. I think there was some discussion about whether or not councils would retain funding for this, that and the other if they didn't hold citizenship ceremonies on 26 January. And look, absolutely right. I mean, really, the Australia Day should be bricked in on January 26. I think, I might be mistaken in saying Henry Pike, the MP up in Queensland there, has had some talk about whether or not to legislate on this through a private members bill, and I think it's a great idea. I think it's a very sensible idea, and we know that this is not reflective of the mood in the community. The vast, overwhelming majority of Australians want Australia Day to stay. So why a local government? Why is the Albanese government and anyone else that wants to interject on this freelancing on their own personal views against the will of the people?
Well, Alex, doesn't this all come down to, I think, what we've seen here in the last year with the Voice campaign is finally unmasking the salami strategy of the left, you know, where they take the whole big thing that they want to do and they just slice off little bits, bit by bit. People say, oh, well, okay, I guess we don't do Australia Day anymore. Oh, okay, I guess we don't do that anymore. Oh, okay, I guess we pay reparations. Oh, okay, I guess my house isn't mine. And, you know, and this is where you wind up with all of these things. Has the Voice here, and I'm just exaggerating about the house not being yours, don't write in, everybody on the press council, but everybody sort of realizes where this is all going with these sort of things. And you only get called a culture warrior when you wind up fighting back. And yet the real warriors, the real revolutionaries, are the ones on the left who are trying to change the way we operate so that they can be the ones in power. Alex.
James, that's the perfect summary. I don't know what I can add to that. You've absolutely nailed it. It is death by a thousand cuts. The salami strategy is spot on. We know how this works. These things start off as, you know, oh, let's talk about recognition in the Constitution. And before you know it, it becomes, you know, an entirely new chapter in the Constitution in line with a UN globalist, UNDRIP agenda. Look, Aussies are not going to be fooled by this. And I had the view 18 months ago that Aussies would work this out, even if the government, as they did, as this was building, weren't going to tell Aussies the detail, as they haven't. But I always had confidence that Australians would work this out, that they would be cautious with their constitution. We've had something like 44 referenda in our history, and only 8 have ever got up. So history is against us, or against those who speak for the Yes campaign. Obviously, I do not. Look, we really do have to say on this one, the SS Albanese is heading to Davy Jones' locker on the issue of the Voice. And I think Aussies are going to deliver a Brexit moment to the corporate elites and to the smug political operators who think that they can just tell Aussies what to do, because this is divisive. It's the voice of division. And as Senator Jacinta Price always says, what Canberra needs are a set of ears, not actually a new voice.
Really?
Well, let's hope you can talk a little bit of sense to your leader and get rid of this ridiculous notion of having another referendum under a coalition government for recognition. I think, that's going to be done and dusted with this time around. We don't want to have another divisive debate next term.